My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
If your team isn't using ClickUp, you're wasting time, and data proves it. 61% of knowledge workers manage work more than doing it, switching apps 1,000 times a day. That's work sprawl and costs millions. ClickUp replaces 20 apps with Convergence, uniting projects, docs, and chats, while AI super agents handle the busy work. Join 4 million teams using ClickUp to finish work 30% faster. Try it free and get 15% off AI upgrades at clickup.com/podcast. That's CLICKUP.com/podcast.
7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Sunday 7.
I'm Ciara Revens in for Jamie East this week, and on today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we look at the current state of AI and the risks associated with it. We go behind the scenes of the Winter Olympics and discover a new way to beat depression. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, goes inside the courtroom with Mark Zuckerberg and takes a closer look at China's dancing robot squad. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started though, it was on this day in 1630 that English colonists in America first encountered popcorn. A Native American bought the snack in deerskin bags to a first Thanksgiving dinner, and it turns out that the Native Americans had been growing it and popping it for more than 1,000 years before the arrival of European explorers. In fact, scientists discovered a 7,000-year-old cob of popcorn at an excavation in southern Mexico, although presumably it still tasted fresher than some of the ones at your local cinema. This week has seen India make a bid to become the centre of AI technology development in what is known as the Global South. An AI Impact Summit in Delhi made headlines worldwide when Microsoft founder Bill Gates pulled out of his keynote speech. But this week has seen some of the biggest names in artificial intelligence take to the stage. OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman spoke at the summit, urging caution that while people are predicting a wide range of outcomes from AI, it's still too early to tell what kind of impact it will actually have. But he was leaning on the positives.
A really great thing about AI progress is that it looks like many things are going to get much cheaper and have much faster economic growth. We're already seeing what AI is doing for access to high-quality healthcare, education, and more. In the coming years, we expect to see robots make many products and physical goods cheaper as supply chains get automated.
France has been keen to position itself as a key player in both data centres and AI, and the fact that they are officially the world's most nuclear nation, generating 70% of their electricity from nuclear reactors, has given them a unique selling point in terms of clean energy. The French President Emmanuel Macron attended the summit and looked to contrast Europe's more cautious approach to America's unregulated approach to AI and big tech.
Europe is not blindly focused on regulation. Europe is a space for innovation and investment, but it is a safe space, and safe spaces win in the long run. I'm sure of that.
But while the AI summit was busy focusing on the positives, there have been a series of warnings about the speed and direction that AI is taking. We recently saw one of the lead safety researchers at Anthropic dramatically quit his job to move to England, write poetry and become invisible as he became increasingly concerned by the development of more powerful AI models and some of the behaviours they're exhibiting. Malo Bourgon is the CEO of the ominously named Machine Intelligence Research Institute, and he's previously testified before a Commons committee on the risks of unsupervised AI development. He explained that the issue is that no one really knows what exactly they're enabling when it comes to AI.
The goal of these companies what they claim is to build superintelligence. And this means AI systems that are smarter than all of humanity combined. And the problem is that the way that we build AI today, we don't actually understand how it works. It's more like growing AI systems than it is kind of like actually building them in a way that we understand. And so there's this kind of fundamental challenge of how do we control something that is much, much smarter than us, that we don't understand, that might not value and care about the same things that we care about.
Andrea Miotti is the founder and CEO of a non-profit organisation called Controlled AJ, which works to mitigate the risks from these powerful AI systems. He spoke to Channel 4 News this week and says we really do need to take the potential threats from unregulated superintelligence very seriously.
The car did lead to the disappearance of the vast majority of horses. In this case, we are the horses. And the horses were headed to the glue factory after cars were invented. So this is what a lot of experts are warning about, like Nobel Prize winners like Geoffrey Hinton, sometimes even the CEOs of these companies themselves. These companies often have a double speak where their lobbyists and spin doctors say there's nothing to worry about, keep calm, carry on, let us do what we want, no regulation, while their own CEOs go on the record talking about white-collar bloodbath or even up to human extinction.
Professor Cecilia Rikap is the head of research at the Institute of Innovation and Public Purpose at University College London, and she says that it's important to remember that a lot of the promised benefits of AI may not yet materialise.
In the next 10 years, in the best case scenario, there will be maximum even less than 1% gain from AI in economic terms. So 1% not per year, 1% in the 10 years combined. So the more people is laid off from some parts of the economy because AI is replacing them, the more these people will go to the less productive sector of the economy. So globally speaking, there will be no economic gain.
We've been looking at AI and the impact and the warnings we're seeing from experts, but there's been plenty of other news this week in the world of tech. So what better time to dial up the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt. Hey Will, we've just been talking about AI, but this week saw a slightly unusual warning about the tech. What is the warning from cybersecurity experts?
It's a proper pain in the backside creating unique passwords for every different app and service you use. Well, to add to this pain, we've been warned this week not to ask AI chatbots to suggest a password that's really hard for anybody to guess or crack, because they seem to be offering the same suggestions to everyone, and that means that criminals are easily guessing them. Based on this, you just as well use 123456 than Jamie_East_Badger74 if ChatGPT tells you to use it.
So it's not that AI is going to be snuffling through my emails?
Not currently, unless you've given it permission, so at least that's one thing less to currently worry about. And while a growing number of people are experimenting with these new AI agents, giving them control to their email, messaging services and other apps, I'm not yet touching this with a barge pole, as it's clearly the next big security issue to creep up and slap early adopters round the chops.
We've talked regularly about big law versus big tech, but it doesn't get much bigger than Mark Zuckerberg walking into a courtroom, does it?
This is actually the first time Zuckerberg has ever stepped into a court of law, and he was in LA defending Instagram against a case which suggests it was made addictive by design and that the company intentionally hid this addictive nature from its users. The case has the potential to do several things. Firstly, cost Meta and Google's YouTube an awful lot of money, and would likely see the floodgates open for loads more legal cases, and it could also stop tech companies from relying on their usual stock defense. Yeah, we just run the platform, mate. We're not responsible for the content. And that would make things very, very interesting from a legal perspective. As with anything in court, there's a load of ifs and buts in this case, but the court will be hearing evidence for weeks more, so Zuck turning up is hugely important.
We know that a couple of the tech giants have settled this case.
Legal cases like this are a bit like 9-dimensional chess. Both Snap for Snapchat and ByteDance, the company behind TikTok, paid undisclosed sums to settle the case before it went to court. But that actually means they haven't admitted their platforms are addictive. They've just paid an amount, which means a judge won't make a decision about them. This would mean that they wouldn't wouldn't initially be subject to any fallout or ruling from this particular court case, and someone would have to successfully take them back through the courts and see them found guilty in order for them to also legally be called addictive. Make sense?
Is this an existential risk for Meta? Will they have to alter the familiar elements of Instagram or Facebook?
I don't believe this is existential, but it would be a huge bump in the road for Meta, and the road seems to be getting bumpier in many countries, with both the UK and seemingly the whole of Europe now looking at whether social platforms are indeed addictive by design, which would mean they could be ordered to remove infinite scrolling on Reels, among other things. Perhaps what's more interesting is just how the US government will react to what it increasingly perceives as other countries overstepping the mark and tinkering with its tech companies, despite a case with potentially the same result going through its own legal system.
We've seen a real movement towards cutting teens off from social media. What did Keir Starmer announce this week?
Remember how on December the 10th last year, when the Australian social media ban for under 16s kicked in, our Secretary of State Lisa Nandy said there were absolutely no plans to do something similar here in the UK. Well, something's clearly changed in a little over 2 months, because now the government is launching a consultation before the end of the month with a view of potentially banning social media for under 16s, and it also promises to follow up on any decision rapidly, not letting it be kicked around the Houses of Parliament for months and months and months and months and months and months on end. This week, Keir Starmer also said that tech companies were in the government's sights because the safety of Britain's young people was too important to ignore. He also seemingly personified Grok in his interview with Jeremy Vine on BBC Radio 2, which was a bit weird because he didn't go into battle with Grok over sexualised deepfakes. He was attempting to control an out-of-control billionaire Elon Musk.
And Germany is on a similar path.
Indeed, and Germany has now joined Spain, Greece and other yet unnamed countries in a European coalition of the digitally willing. In an interview, the country's chancellor, a bit like our Prime Minister, said that some kind of ban made sense to protect young people, and it would appear that social media for under 16s and a potential ban is now becoming a very populist policy across the world, despite many trusted child safety experts saying that a ban would simply push kids onto other unregulated online platforms that could potentially be more dangerous.
And finally, we know the robots are coming, and a squad of Chinese dancing robots lit up our social feeds this week, but things might not be quite as advanced as they seem.
The Spring Gala in China is like the country's Super Bowl. More people watch it than anything else. And this year, China's leading role in developing robots worldwide was on full display, with a pretty dazzling showcase of robots doing drunken boxing and kung fu that was rather accomplished. These humanoid robots move like Jackie Chan or Jet Li in their prime, with fluid movement. Not like the 21st century Steven Seagal, but the reality behind these robots is that they spent thousands and thousands of hours being trained by athletes and engineers to copy how they moved. So while impressive, it was a bit like me spending the time and being able to knock out a strictly standard qualifying dance performance. Not falling over doesn't necessarily mean that robots are ready for real life use yet, and stage shows like this aren't everyday use of robots.
Still to come this Sunday 7 in association with Metro, a novel approach to treating depression and a handy grab-and-go nuclear reactor. Modern life can be a struggle, whether it's AI trying to replace you or just the stresses of life. But for an estimated 100 million people worldwide, depression is a serious and difficult to treat issue. What's called treatment-resistant depression has been a topic for scientific researchers for some time. It's defined as a major depressive disorder which has not responded to treatment using at least 2 conventional antidepressants. There's been a growing interest in the use of psychedelic drugs as a means to break through with depressive patients, but the theory was that these drugs, some of which can be traced back to shamanic rituals, combined with psychotherapy might make a difference where conventional medicine has failed. Now, a new clinical study reported in the journal Nature Medicine suggests that there may be a scientific basis for the theory. The research carried out at Imperial College London saw 34 people with depressive symptoms take a single dose of psychedelic drug known as DMT and then received additional psychotherapy. The impact saw a reduction in symptoms and the effect effects that lasted up to 6 months. Dr. David Erritzoe is a psychiatrist at Imperial College London and led the research in the trial. And he says the hallucinogenic nature of the drugs helped the patient to break out of the existing mindset.
In this trial, we have done a lot of work in our lab at Imperial, and also others have around the world more and more, to try and understand mechanisms. So how does these work differently? And they do produce a very flexible brain state. They open up a window of opportunity for sort of reshape, even remolding of the brain to some degree. It can become pretty stuck and rigid. For instance, in depression can be rumination, sort of being stuck in negative thought spirals and so on. And that looks like the psychedelic state can sort of break that.
When I say nuclear reactor, you're probably picturing something similar to Homer Simpson's workplace in Springfield, the classic shape and a towering size. But things have moved on in the world of nuclear power. Just don't tell Homer. Nuclear power was out of favour for some time after a number of serious nuclear disasters led to pollution and environmental impact. However, a new generation of nuclear power is cleaner, greener and safer. We heard earlier how France is leading the way on nuclear power, and the UK has announced a major investment in the energy source with a focus on what are called small modular reactors, which are self-contained and could be used to power a giant data centre, for example. This week saw the US take the notion of portable reactor to a new level as they transported a working nuclear reactor on a cargo plane from California to Utah as proof of the concept that they could provide a high energy power source at speed. The downside is that the US is thinking about it from a military perspective, as Michael Duffey, the Under Secretary of Defence for Acquisition and Sustainment, explained.
Powering next generation warfare will require us to move faster than our adversaries. To build a system that doesn't just equip our warfighters to fight, but equips them to win at extraordinary speed. Today is a monumental step towards building that system. By supporting the industrial base and its capacity to innovate, we accelerate the delivery of resilient power to where it's needed.
Chris Wright is the US Energy Secretary and has given his boss's dislike of green energy, and in particular wind turbines. It's no surprise that he's sounding very positive about the future potential of nuclear power.
We went 40 or 50 years without building much in the nuclear space, and from executive orders only about 12 months ago, before July 4 of this year, we will have multiple nuclear reactors critical. That's speed, that's innovation, that's the start of a nuclear renaissance.
Still to come in the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, we step behind the scenes at the Winter Olympics and get an update on a measles outbreak.
Right after this.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
ClickUp just solved AI's biggest problem, and it's saving 4 million teams from productivity loss every day. Unlike ChatGPT and other AI tools, ClickUp converges all your work into one platform, so your AI super agents have full context to prioritize tasks, execute workflows, and draft documents instantly. Teams using ClickUp finish work 30% faster and cut meetings in half. Try ClickUp for free today and get 15% off AI upgrades at clickup.com/podcast. That's CLICKUP.com/podcast.
Welcome back.
The Winter Olympics have been capturing the world's attention over the last 2 weeks as snow-loving athletes gathered near Milan in Italy to demonstrate their skills. And the TV pictures have shown snowy scenes for skiing, but in a time of unpredictable climate, it hasn't necessarily been straightforward to have the right kind of snow in the right place at the right time. The Olympic organisers have drafted in high-grade snow machines to ensure that the quality and thickness of snow is perfect for the Olympic skiers. Christine DeLuca is the head of the ski lift operations at the Col Galena site, where most of the competitive skiing has been taking place.
It is commonly called artificial snow, but it's not artificial. It is snow produced with water and air, and it is programmed because we decide when to produce it, and in what quantities, and with what quality of snow to produce it. Obviously, during the season, natural snow falls on it, and we also continue to supplement with programmed snow over the season, so to always guarantee slopes and durability over time. Once the cannon starts, there is a compressor that produces air, which mixes with the water, and through a fan, this mixture is shot out. With the cold, the water crystallizes and produces snow.
It's not just the pristine snow that's caught people's eye. The Winter Olympics has a slightly unusual mascot. A stoat. Well, technically, not just one stoat. There were two of them, Tina and Milo. Tina is a lighter colour. She represents the Milano Cortina region and is the face of the Winter Olympics, while her younger brother, who has darker fur, is representing the Paralympic Games, which follow. However, Marco Granata, a PhD student and stoat researcher from the University of Turin, says in real life stoats are at serious risk from climate change.
I think it's ironic because everyone now is talking about stoats, looking for stoats, but no one knows about real stoats. Stoat has almost never been studied here in Italy. So we don't know how many stoats we have and how many stoats we had back in the past.
We've seen stories recently about ongoing measles outbreaks in the United States, but the UK is also struggling with a resurgence of the disease. After almost 3,000 cases were reported in 2024, the UK lost its elimination status for measles. There were about 1,000 cases reported in 2025. Measles is a highly contagious and potentially life-threatening disease that doesn't have a treatment but can be halted by vaccination. However, as vaccine scepticism has risen, rates of vaccination are falling and now herd immunity is starting to falter. There's currently a major outbreak underway in London and the West Midlands, and that is a serious worry, according to Professor Alex Richter, who is the Director of Clinical Immunology Services at the University of Birmingham.
So measles infection is so contagious that if you are exposed to someone in a room with measles, or you pass someone in a room with measles and you haven't been vaccinated, there's a really high chance that you're going to catch it. For most patients, this is a relatively short illness, hopefully lasts only a week or so. But unfortunately, for some children, there can be more significant consequences.
There's been a new government ad campaign launched to encourage parents to get the childhood vaccinations, but it seems to be having little impact so far. Dr. Ellie Cannon is an NHS GP, but she's also an author and broadcaster, and she told BBC Breakfast that the government needs to step up its approach on vaccines.
We need to look at what was successful during the pandemic. We took the vaccinations out to the community, and that's what they do around the world. And it might be that actually, rather than making parents come into GP surgeries for their measles vaccines, actually we could be going out to groups, to parenting groups, to communities, actually to vaccinate children that way, because a lot of these parents want to get their children vaccinated.
Vaccine scepticism isn't helped by things like Donald Trump ranting about Tylenol and cautioning parents not to give their children shots, and having RFK Jr., a renowned vaccine skeptic, as the US Secretary of Health, may well have serious consequences for America. This week saw the US Food and Drug Administration briefly block a new flu vaccine from Moderna, which is based on the mRNA technology which was used in COVID vaccines. The new shot, which had completed clinical trials, fell foul of scepticism from RFK Jr.'s colleagues, who worry about how mRNA vaccines are constructed despite ample evidence that they are safe. Professor Michael Osterholm from the University of Minnesota explains the background to the new flu shot.
Despite the vast majority of the FDA staff supporting it, a single individual, Dr. Prasad, basically decided against approving it coming forward. And this sent chills up the spines of all of us in public health and the vaccine world, because it's so arbitrary. There was absolutely no basis for which to do this. And this really leaves other manufacturers concerned about what might their future directions be in terms of confusion and recommendation.
It seems barely a month goes by without a moving van appearing in Downing Street, whether it's Tory Prime Ministers coming and going or the recent round of Labour departures in the wake of the Mandelson crisis. It's all changed on that road. Strangely, the most consistent resident of number 10 is not even human. And before you make some cruel and unusual political remark, let me clarify that resident is Larry the cat. This week saw Larry celebrate 15 years at Downing Street as Mouser-in-Chief and unofficial greeter of various dignitaries from across the world. Justin Eng is an Australian freelance photographer who has made a speciality out of pictures of Larry going about his business and happily ignoring the world of politics above his head.
I think it's just that air of anticipation because we just don't know exactly what will happen, but we do know that he's great at photobombing. So if there's a foreign leader that's about to visit, then we know he'll just come out at the exact moment that that meet and greet's about to happen. So I think it's like also he's just a nice way to ice break things and keep things cordial with people and be an ambassador for the UK. People who wouldn't necessarily be interested in politics actually become very interested just because of Larry, just to see, to catch him on camera, on TV, and see if he's going to photobomb a leader or do something really funny, and kind of watches over everything. And I think it's just a very reassuring thing for a lot of people that he's around, and he's still sprightly as ever despite being 19. And then this 15 years here as his anniversary is basically a testament to the fact that he's outlasted a lot of people because he's just a cat. He's very good at what he does.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
Big news! Boost Mobile is now sending experts nationwide to deliver and set up customers' new phones at home or work.
Wait, we're going on tour?
Not a tour. We're delivering and setting up customers' phones so it's easier to upgrade.
Let's get in the tour bus and hit the road.
No, not a tour bus. It's a regular car we use to deliver and set up customers' phones at home or work.
Are you a groupie on this tour?
We deliver and set up phones. It's not a tour.
Oh, you're definitely a groupie.
Introducing Store to Door. Switch and get a new device with expert setup and delivery wherever you're at.
Delivery available for select devices purchased at boostmobile.com.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.